With Chapter 5, we've been talking about factors, multiples, and prime numbers. We are going to kind of speed through Chapter 5 pretty quick, but I did want to give examples of each on the next few slides. So first I'm going to talk about factors. Factors are going to be any two digits that can be multiplied to get a multiple. So my first example is going to be choosing the number 8. And then after it, the kids know that we should be listing any of the factors that go into 8. And I always like to start with 1, because every single digit has 1 as a factor. So 1 times what gives you 8 is what I like to ask the kids. They'll say 1 times 8. Then I try 2. Does 2 go into 8? And they should say, well, 2 is a factor of 8, and it goes in 4 times. We could try 3, but 3 doesn't go in. 4, and I tell the kids, well, we've just hit a repeat, and so we know we can stop there with our factors. Then I could pick another number, and I'm going to choose 12. Again, starting with the number 1. 1 times 12 gives me 12. Does 2 go into 12? I should say that 2 goes into 12 6 times, so those are both factors. Does 3 go into 12? And they'll say, well, 3 times 4 gives me 12. Does 5 go into 12? No. Does 6 go into 12? And again, we've hit a repeat, and so we know that we are done finding the factors. Now, I've also been working with them on finding common factors between two numbers. And so then we go back and we look at our lists, and we find which ones are the same or the ones that they have in common. So I can circle, I see that 1 is a common factor. I can see that 2 is a common factor. And I can also see that 4 is a common factor. So then I can list them in order from least to greatest and say the common factors for 8 and 12 are 1, 2, and 4. The next section is going over multiples, which definitely goes hand in hand with factors, because 2 factors is going to give you a multiple. So again, we can have the kids choose a number. I'm going to stick with 8. But with this, multiples, I like to tell them it's just like skip counting, but we're big bad 4th graders now, and so we call them multiples. So I start with 8. 1 times 8 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. And you could keep going on forever, but we're going to stop with that. Then I could choose 12, just like I did before, starting with 12. Skip counting or multiplying in my head, I know that 12 times 1 is 12, 12 times 2 is 24, 12 times 3 is 36, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to stop there. Now, just like we did common factors, we can also do common multiples, and asking the kids, well, what common multiples are there for 8 and 12? And they can say, well, I see that 24 is a common multiple. And circle that. So my common multiple at this point for 8 and 12 is just 24. At this point, students, I'm going to give you your clue word to make sure that you've watched the video. In honor of Super Bowl this weekend, I'm going to say bears is your clue word. Even though they're not in the Super Bowl, we still got to cheer for our home team. Alright, so the next one we're talking about is prime numbers. And a prime number is any number times 1, and so its factors are going to be prime, depending on, you can only have 1 times itself. So for example, I'm going to start with 2. And the only factors that I can come up with for 2 are 1 times 2. So 2 is considered a prime number. I could try 3, and the only factors for 3 are 1 times 3. So 3 is also a prime number. I could try 4, and I always try 1 times the number first because it always works out. 1 times 4, but then I also have 2 times 2. So since we have another factor here, this one is not a prime number. But we can keep going on and try 5. And I know that 1 times 5, those are the only factors. 6 would not work. 7, 1 times 7 is the only factor, so that's prime. We have a whole list up in our classroom of the prime numbers, but this will help them in the next few lessons if they can understand which numbers are prime.